This podcast recording is brought to you from the staff and friends of IBS.life.net. Each broadcast contains discussion about matters of health and well-being related to IBS that can affect anyone with the condition.
Hi and welcome to the next instalment of the IBS Life podcast series. My name's Kevin and I'm with
Sean.
And I'm Rick.
And we are the administrators of the site, and today we're going to be touching on the subject on our living with IBS, specifically talking about work related issues and travelling. Take us for an average day. We're talking you wake up in the morning until you go through your day.
Okay, an average day is I get up and make a cup of tea. And as soon as I've had one sip of tea, I get terrible stomach cramps. And
is this every day?
Yes, every day. And then you're in the bathroom. So
well,
every day
I
say,
isn't it?
I say,
well, actually, saying that, I do. When I get up to go to work, I have literally about 10 minutes. I just get up. I'm like a commando, straight out of bed.
Unfortunately, the timing crosses over.
Yeah, but it's regular every time. Straight away, 6 o'clock, up in the morning, out the door by about 15:15.
So I used to do that when I was about 17. I couldn't do it now.
No.
Here I am, wrong side of 30. And
well, that's one of the things we talk about. So for myself, I go out and I work. You had to give up your job. Both of you actually gave up your jobs through your IBS, didn't you? And
well, it was a heavy influence. I didn't give it up because of IBS, but it was a major part of the decision. But I know Sean's had.
Well, I've been taken home from different jobs 3 times with severe IBS attacks when I was in incredible pain, really bad, and I was also ill for days afterwards with it, even when the actual pain had gone. And when it happened when I was temping, the agency refused to employ me after that. It was a temping agency. They didn't really tell me what to do, except that there was a quota I had to reach, and I hadn't eaten anything at all. I was just drinking water, and this pain just came on so quickly. And I said, I explained, and I said, I can't stay. I've got to go. I was in so much pain. And the temp agency, well, they're supposed to place reliable people, aren't they? So,
well, the thing is, I mean, I can sort of see it from 2 sides of the coin. There is not, even now in this sort of our slightly more enlightened sort of age, there is still not a lot of sympathy for people at work with IBS. You know, a lot of people have a lot of grief.
It's any kind of problem, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously we're on the subject of IBS. I mean, just reading some of the forum posts and things, there's a lot of people that, they're really getting grief from their bosses. A lot of people, their work is they're put in a position, almost untenable positions by their bosses, simply to sort of get rid of them. And the thing is, since I left work, I mean, I spent years in engineering, and I was in a sort of a factory environment. And whenever I had IBS issues, my bosses used to get really, it used to be really intimidating trying to have some time off because, they'd have this come back to work, sort of sit in the office, sort of be taken to the office policy, and you have to fill in a form with your supervisor sat in front of you and everything. And I presume these are just tactics by employers to sort of intimidate you into not taking time off. A lot of people get this. Now the problem is, since I have left work, I've actually sort of gone the entrepreneurial path, and I'm now sort of working for myself.
Home-based businesses, isn't
it?
Yeah,
I basically work from home now. But the thing is, I was thinking about this the other day. If my business suddenly, got a lot bigger and I needed to employ people, then the shoe would almost be on the other foot because. Sorry, I hate quoting metaphors there, but or cliches rather. But I would then, if I was employing somebody and they had IBS, I would have to be thinking, well, hang on a minute, all right, obviously I can feel sorry for them and relate to them because I know what they're going through. But on the other hand, I've still got to get the work out of them,
haven't you? Exactly.
So it's, I suppose coming from that perspective, I mean, businesses are not charities.
They want the employers to be there. They don't want them to be off sick, and that's what it boils down to because they lose money.
Yeah.
And you can get some that are quite sympathetic, but
talking about the
draw,
work-related IBS and taking time off and that. What is there any kind of legislation I think you did an article on the
yes,
website about it.
Yes, I did. Yeah. So there's legislations in this country and also in America that you can't be sacked and you can't be intimidated by having an illness. And the thing is, it's a Disability Act, and you have to read through the clauses. Yeah, that's the thing. You have to read through the clauses, but it's like mental health is one of them. You can't. People can't sack you for being depressed, or they can't. And it also comes under like chronic pain, which you can get abdominal pain, and you know it's complicated. You can print them out if you go to some sites. You can print out and read it, but.
So ultimately, if you're diagnosed with a condition, your employer cannot discriminate against you.
They can't. No.
The problem is, I mean, I'd imagine that a lot of the big companies, are pretty rigid with their policies. They obviously don't want to wind up in tribunals. But a lot of the smaller sort of businesses and companies, I'd imagine, despite this law being in place, I'd imagine it's so hard to implement it, and it's probably such an intimidating thing. You know, could you imagine? Bringing a tribunal against your employer? I mean, it must be a hellishly awful thing to do. It would be
quite hard to do anyway, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, especially the fact you're down with the IBS. You know, you're not 100%, and you've got to muster the energy for this sort of thing.
You can go to a tribunal. Your mum deals with that, didn't she?
Yeah, she works in the trade union.
I mean, they do it all for you, but the thing is, it's difficult because. You can even have your doctor say that yes, you're in pain or anything like this. But if an employer wants to get rid of you, they can, because they can say that you're not doing your job properly for any reason. They can just make it up.
Exactly.
So
they give you a task. They give you a task that you just can't complete.
That's right.
And it says in your job description you need to get this complete, and then you don't meet it. It's
good to have the legislations in place, but there's always a way around it.
I guess if you are in a situation like that, I guess the best advice would be, if you feel that this is happening to you, what you need to do is actually start physically writing things down, making notes. The thing is, there's no way you're going to recall specifics or too many specifics, 6-8 months down the line if you decide to take it further. I mean, we're sort of going on to the legal jurisdiction here and that, but I actually did do some research into bullying at work, and one of the things they say is when incidents happen, you need to, even ideally you need to do it there and then, but you wait either that or wait till you get home and actually just handwritten notes about the incident, and you just let them build up. You just
build a log, doesn't it?
Basically, and then because the thing is, all of these things you're not going to recall them all in great detail sort of later on, and that's what anyone, if they're trying to push you out, would sort of hope for, that you're not going to be able to come back with specifics. But if you've got this, you're basically building up an armory against your employer. But we are going way off track here.
I just think, we should look at the living with IBS. But one of our subject matters was also working with IBS, so we could under it as well.
It is pertinent because people, like you said on the forum, I mean, there is one person.
There are a lot of people that are having to work that.
Yeah, there is one person who believes he's going to lose his job, and he's the only wage earner, and his IBS is an enormous problem, and somebody else who had actually been sacked. I think both of them were in the United States. Yeah. And it's, to me, I mean, that's appalling. You can't sack people for being ill, but if the employer says, well, you're absent too much, and therefore, I mean, what could you do?
The thing is, like I say, any employers that would be listening to this would be saying, well, at the end of the day, if I run a business, I'm not a charity, and I have a job to do. We have to, if we don't get the work out the door, we don't get the wages in to pay the people, and so on. And that's not what business is about.
They have an onus, though, to their employers to make their working lives as as easy as possible.
So you need to find some middle ground somewhere.
Yeah,
don't you?
I mean, I think a lot of people are willing to say, I can do this job, but
that's the best advice you can.
Yeah.
Literally say, not say what you can't do, say what you can.
Say,
do.
I can do this.
There was an interesting article on the radio the other day, and on the BBC, where at the moment you've got the doctor's note, where basically the doctor writes you a note, says you can be off work for whatever.
Note.
What they're doing now, they're talking about writing a note about the things that you can do, and then you give that to your employer.
Oh, that's
so as long as your employer stays within the guidelines of what the doctor tells you, then everybody's happy. Well, I don't know if your employer will be happy, but
so if the doctor says this person must be near a toilet, they have to put you near a toilet.
But it's just proposed. I mean, it takes years.
We'll have to keep on top of that, and if we get more about that, we can research it, and then of course let our listeners know more about it, and do some articles on it.
But that's in the UK. I don't actually know what the system is in America about sick notes and things.
No,
I'm not quite sure. Perhaps somebody could tell us how the sick note thing works in America.
IBSLife.net. Created for people with IBS by people with IBS.
So how do you travel with IBS then? That's the best way you can get around with it. God, I know you've got
I'm probably not the best guy to ask, really.
Yeah.
Because I've got the travelling sussed out, but I traded my car and got into a van and put one of those caravan cassette toilets in the back in a little built-in bathroom. So it's kind of cheating in a way.
No, I think that's excellent.
I would recommend it to anyone because it's given me a freedom. But a lot of people, they don't drive, they don't, they're not in a position to be able to do that.
You've got to have the sort of technical know-how. Maybe I suppose we can one day do how to make your own van.
To make a video, that could be interesting.
Yeah, because I know on the website you have put an article up, haven't you, with a couple of production pictures, haven't you, showing you from
how I actually
end.
did the van. Yeah, it was about 4 years ago now, but I kept all the pictures. And they're actually up on the website under Travelling with IBS.
We'll have to see what happens. If we get any sort of feedback off of these podcasts and we can find out people are interested in it and they want to learn, then we'll look into showing you how to do your own van.
That would make an interesting project, actually.
Yeah, we do videos and whatever and give you a step-by-step process from the beginning and how much it would cost you to build your own IBS mobile. But for most people, it's not really going to be a possibility, is it? I don't think they just haven't got the know-how of it.
Well, to be honest, you don't need a lot of know. I mean, you could probably use a biggish car or something. I mean, all you need is some makeshift privacy screen with one of those things you're strapped in with a bungee
basic,
cord.
Isn't it? Yeah. There's no plumbing involved, is it? It's literally it's just.
These cassette toilets are they're a fantastic design. They're very, very clean. There's they're not messy or anything. Just emptying them is really, really simple.
Commodes, you see, when they think
it's nothing like that. These are modern day proper flushing toilets, and they're just they're all made out of plastic. They lock together. It's been made so that it's absolutely so simple to empty them, and it's you don't get your hands dirty or anything like that. You literally just unscrew a thing on the top and just pour it down your toilet, and that's it.
I think people might not realise that though.
Basically all you need, because I mean you say like chemical toilets, you think I've got to have this whole.
That's right. That's what people think of.
The concoction of chemicals, but you literally need two chemicals. One that lives in the reservoir flush tank at the top. Just put a little capful of this pink liquid in. And then in the actual there's the waste tank down the bottom. You just put one capful of this one chemical in with a little bit of water, and that's it. That's very good, because in the old days it used to be like the chemical toilets, and then some people who had caravans or caravanettes had a big problem having to go to have them emptied. That's right. Yeah, well they're all biodegradable chemicals now, because originally they used to use this blue stuff, and it was. You couldn't put it down the toilet because it was so nasty. But now they're just these chemicals are based on these safe bacteria or whatever. I don't know. But they smell really nice as well, actually. Yeah. But they're simplicity themselves, and they're just if you're an IBS sufferer, they could be your best friend.
Yeah, I can see that. So that's really big. Perhaps it was invented by an IBS sufferer.
Actually, there was a guy recently. I seem to recall. I can't remember where I saw it, but some guy had invented this inflatable emergency bathroom for a car, and I think he had an IBS or a similar issue, and basically it was this thing when you plugged it into your cigarette lighter. or the socket in the car.
It's interesting.
These things, this big
Well, like an
privacy
airbag,
screen.
but it's an air toilet.
It was weird. It was like
Well, it comes across your windshield.
These. Well, it sort of went round the inside of your car, and when you plugged it in, and this pump switched on, and these big inflatable things covered up the window, and there was obviously a little sort of portable loo in there as well. But I've never seen it since. I think it was like in the.
I wonder why. That's just trying to get my head around that. That's just so extreme, isn't it? Surely, if you need to just pull up next to a bar or something, and jump out, or a gas station and jump out. But no, let's try and blow my car up with an inflatable
Imagine
toilet.
the doors blowing out.
Help! I'm stuck inside my car. I can't get out my car.
Yeah, there's a big marshmallow.
That's what I was thinking of, actually. Test.
Some guy pinned up against the window.
It's just like a one-use thing, is it? So it goes up, then you have to deflate it. There's still a lot of work behind that, surely.
Yeah,
Seems
so.
It seemed a little excessive for what it was. I mean, all you need is a little
bush.
A bush. Perfect.
I'm sorry, but in the old days, that was what they had to do.
Oh, well, I suppose it sort of warrants some further investigation and possibly dedicate an entire podcast to that one. I think that's quite an interesting subject.
And who's going to test it?
Even better than the podcast. Yeah, we'll do a demonstration video and Rick will do it.
I don't need to because of that.
I don't drive.
I'm not going to ask my mum. She hasn't got an idea. But yeah, travelling, if you haven't got a portable toilet or anything like that, is usually planned, has to be planned to...
Stressful, really,
between
really stressful.
restrooms and...
So we've talked about the super duper inflatable toilets and the cassette toilets and your fantastic van, but there's lots of other ways that people can travel with IBS, including the trains. How do you deal with things like trains?
This is where it gets tricky, isn't it?
Yes.
Trains, public transport, even just general passengers in vehicles can be a little tricky.
So how do you feel about that? If you were say you were going to go out for a friend of yours invited you to go out in their car, and you knew you didn't have control of the car, you're a passenger. Some people actually struggle with that anyway.
Who, me?
Well, anybody really. I'm just saying, some people. I know you personally. You can have.
You'd be hard pushed to get me. I'd put it this way: I'd be breaking out in a sweat before I'd left my postcode area. But it is possible. I mean, a lot of it is to do.
It takes. I know a lot of people who listen will either drive or be passengers, and the first thing you have to do is to know your route and to know where you can stop that has a restroom. And usually it's going to be, on a long trip, it's going to be like in the US gas stations, isn't it, or rest stops that we have on motorways.
Actually, I think the very, very first thing you'd need to do is make sure that your driver understands the problem that you have.
So when you say, I need
So
you
when
to
you
stop,
say,
he knows he's got to stop.
and if they don't have that much sympathy, then I suppose you could always play the card that it's their car, it's their seat. Sorry, Shand.
No, that's quite right. I mean, you'd have to say that if somebody said, do you want to come out, and say, look, I have IBS, I have to know where the public restrooms are, if it's any distance at all. Any distance, like 10 miles or something. Usually I can do a journey that long. I can go to see my sister or something like that. But if you're talking about a long journey, then you have to know. I mean, that means you have to either look on the internet for routes, or you have to get like a road guide.
So how would you deal with a train journey then? You get
do you get toilets on trains?
The one dread that I would have about booking a train journey would be getting one of those closed carriage compartments. I don't know if they still do those.
Not really. Certainly in UK, most of the standard intercity trains you have, they're just
the
big buses,
walk-through ones with the loos, the two twin loos at each end, aren't
they? The ones I've been on. I mean, we went on a very long train journey, except that it kept stopping, so there was always toilets at the stations. But I mean, to me, it's always a ratio. How many people are there on here, and how many toilets are there? And that is always the
massively
problem.
important, isn't it?
It really is. I still think it's wrong to not have houses with more than one bathroom. I mean, some people do, but that travelling is, I think, if you plan a journey, if you can plan a journey, and you know that the thing is, don't just limit yourself to public stops where, you know, gas stations or whatever. Cafes or restaurants or bars, and big shops will always have restrooms.
You can, actually, when you start thinking this way, all of a sudden you realise where there are.
Yeah, you have to. You're forced into thinking. I remember when I used to get panic attacks in town. That was before I had IBS. I was thinking of places to hide, really, which was bathrooms, and I was thinking in terms of which shops have got them. But then you start thinking, oh, bars have got them, you know, and obviously in the town there's a lot of bars. So,
but a lot of shops. I know you can go into a shop and say, you know, can I please use your bathroom, or do you have a customer bathroom? A lot of them will say no.
Yeah.
I read an article recently where, in fact, it was on the radio. They were talking about this subject. I was listening in, and some guy walked into a shop, and he said, "This is quite a bit of a bathroom emergency. Can I use your bathroom?" They said no, and so he said, "I'm not kidding. You've got 30 seconds, or I'm going to let it all go here." And
you do.
Surprisingly,
like
they found him a bathroom. So but one thing people do is they might go into a shop and ask, you know, do you have a customer bathroom?
Yeah.
And a lot of them will say no. So what you need to say is, well, can I please use your staff toilet? Yeah. I'd imagine a lot of people wouldn't think to do that, but
and a lot of people would be embarrassed to, wouldn't they? There was a.
I suppose a lot of surely though people would be worried about rejection. If you went into a shop, would you mind if I use your staff toilet?
Depends
so
how
sorry, it's not for public. That's why it's called a staff toilet.
Yeah.
Depends how desperate the situation is, isn't it? Yeah. I've pleaded before to use a bar. I went to this was years ago when I ran the baseball club. We were on a trip down to Bournemouth, and about halfway I really needed a bathroom. I was so relieved when I saw a garage. Pulled into the garage, and the guy was saying, "No, you know, we have no bathroom. We have no toilet here at all." And I was just like, "Please, please!" And I looked this guy in the eye. You know, he looked at me for a minute, and he just said, "Go on then." And I was, there is a God, you know. I was just so.
I would. I mean, if it was that desperate, I would definitely plead. I'd even offer to pay. You know, I would. But most people want to feel that they're in control when they're travelling, so they will do certain things like maybe take Imodium before they go, or not eat anything. Make sure they've gone to the bathroom before. Although that doesn't always work, as you know, because sometimes it doesn't seem to matter. But and plan the route very, very carefully. Although people do find themselves, as you know, you read, just making excuses not to go, even if it's business trip.
That's a scenario to throw at you now. Then we've touched briefly on travelling in cars, travelling by train, and that. And let's say to you, okay, Rick, okay, Sean, you've won a prize to go to fantastic holiday in Florida. We got you to the airport. I've got 2 tickets to get on the plane. What happens now? How do you deal with that?
I'd ring round my family and find out if anybody wants some tickets to get
and me. I'd give it to charity. So I would not get on a plane for that amount of time.
I know get on a plane for that amount of money.
No, I mean it's what, an 8-hour, 10-hour
would not go on a plane?
No chance.
I would get on a plane if it was me and say 4 other people. But I mean, I can't stand
like a private jet.
Yes.
I would.
Yes.
So what's your objections to it? Why would you not get on a plane?
Well, what's your objection? Is it just the bathroom plane?
They do have bathrooms on there.
Yes, I know they do.
Oh, I've covered this one before because my family were talking about going out to Spain at one point, getting a villa, and it's not just a case of, you know, even if there's plenty of toilets on the plane, and you've got a seat right next to one, it's once you're out of the plane at the other end, you're completely
in an alien place where you don't know where the restrooms are.
You may have to go into a taxi or into a bus or a coach or something.
To be fair, virtually any place you go, unless you go to some far out Middle Eastern country, there's nothing there. You know.
Yes, of course they will. It's just
if you go to one of the big Western countries, you're going to have exactly the same facilities.
It's just you don't know where they are.
You're not going to have that on the middle of a motorway.
No.
I mean, you're on a coach, a public coach in the middle of a motorway, doesn't have a bathroom on board. That's my idea of hell.
When Mum goes to Spain, Craig picks her up from Alicante Airport, and it's an hour's drive to where he lives, and so that's fine. I mean, he's driving her, but on a coach that would be a couple of hours. A coach with no bathroom. I mean,
and full of people you don't know.
Yeah.
And
to me, it's a mixture of the people, because I'm agoraphobic and I cannot stand to be in a place where there's crowds and I can't get out.
Well, there's lots of other issues coming in, like social anxiety, not social
well,
phobias.
That's right, but
they can develop as a result of IBS.
But the thing is, you do tend to think, if all these people weren't here and it was just me and that toilet, I would be fine. I would be fine on a plane on my own. I'm not worried about the flying at all. It's just the people. And then you end up not going anywhere where there are crowds of people.
Ten years ago, I could not have sat in front of a microphone and talked about bowel movements, you know. There's just been this whole desensitisation process, you know, and now I can.
But I think it's mainly because it's the fact that you now realise that there are other people like yourself who have the condition, which is exactly where we're trying to come from on the website.
That's true. I mean,
trying to show that
you are not alone.
Exactly. You know, and that's one of the biggest problems. Unfortunately, a lot of people, they get so. They're too scared to go out. They don't. Well, that's not right. They don't want to go out because of their problems.
They don't want to say.
And therefore, they think, well, it's just me. What's wrong with me? Why is it?
But that's the thing. But you don't know, because people just don't talk about it. You make up polite euphemisms. I'm sorry, I've just got a stomachache or something, and people.
Well, luckily, I say luckily, it is falling into the public consciousness a lot more now.
Yeah.
But you stop most people in the street and say, "Do you know what IBS is?" And I'd imagine at least half of them would say yes.
Whereas about 10, 15 years ago, it would have been a lot more.
Exactly.
What's that? So you have to go into the. The first time I said it to an employer was when I worked. It was after the times I'd been taken home with it, and I didn't get taken home, but I had to keep going to the bathroom. And the thing is, I was on reception. I had to keep answering the phone. And if I went to
your front house, aren't you?
Yeah,
you're expected to be sat there the whole time.
So I said to a girl in the inner office, I said, I have to go to the bathroom. Can you just man the phones? And she was fine with that. But after about 3 times, she said, "Are you okay?" I mean, she was, But I said, I've got IBS, and she didn't know what it was, but she was fine with it. But she told someone else, and then someone else was told that I kept going to the bathroom, and like a manager came to see me and said, "Do you need to go home? You're not well." Somebody said, "You've got bad stomach and you keep leaving your desk." I said, "I've got IBS," and they said, "What's IBS?" And I said, "It's irritable bowel syndrome. I need to go to the bathroom." I was really angry. I thought, I don't
just to be put in that position to have to explain
I don't
yourself.
need to explain why I have to go to the bathroom. I wouldn't. It's not that interesting in there. I don't want to stay in there. Who's gonna keep going to the bathroom? Yes, I'm doing, snorting coke and reading magazines. I mean, I was so angry. I didn't care that it was the manager, and actually, I was really angry. But it's none of your damn business,
How long ago was that?
Oh, it must have been 9 years, I suppose. So it was quite. But that really annoys me. If you have to go to the bathroom, I don't care. I'll take the headphones with me. I'll stay on the bathroom.
Answer the telephone.
Right, get me a very long cord, and I'll get. I really get angry when people, demand to know why you have to move your bowels. Why do you? I'm sorry, we can't control that yet. We're not quite as evolved. But I don't care now. I mean, that was anger that brought it out. But after that, I was quite fine with it,
Actually talking about it, yeah. And to be honest, actually talking about it, it's not actually that big a deal now.
Okay, so we've touched the subject of travelling, working with IBS. So we're going to wrap this up for today. I think we've covered plenty on the travel and working issue. Of course, we can still cover more if people are interested. They can contact us via our contact us form on the website. If you have any suggestions for, I basically want to ask any questions, we can always answer them via this podcast. Can't we?
If there's anything that you want us to cover, sort of discuss or whatever, any ideas you've got, drop us a line, and we'll see if we can sort of weave it into one of the podcasts we do in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So on that note, we're going to sign off now. You've been listening to Kevin Brown.
And Sean.
And Rick.
Oh, and you might have heard a bit of puffing as well. That's a dog, Billy.
So take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
IBSlife.net. Living life every day with IBS.